I'm jumping on because the client asked me this question. In fact, it wasn't even a question. He was in the middle of the process with me, and he was like, hang on, give me a second, I need to understand this. And my instantaneous response was, no, we're not doing understanding here. And then afterwards I thought, well, that wasn't quite right. We are doing understanding, we're just not doing it in the way that most people are doing it. So think of an example where you've got a problem and notice how it feels. So chances are it feels constricted in some way, or perhaps there's some urgency behind it, or there's some doubt or uncertainty with it, or perhaps there's fears, fear of failure, fear of repeating past mistakes, fear of what might happen in the future, fear of what people might think. It won't feel good. Whatever the problem is, it won't feel good. Otherwise, you literally wouldn't be experiencing something as a problem right now. So whatever that thing is that is feeling bad, that feels like a problem, you're currently in the midst of that problem. And there are lots of explorations, lots of ways of helping yourself, like self-regulation or being coached or just going for a walk outside, that helps you settle down out of whatever the horrible feelings are and come to greater clarity. And then you get a way forward, you get clear steps, you have that insight that drops in, you go, oh, okay, now I know what to do. But here's the thing. When that horrible feeling has come from a very deep subconscious reaction, you're going to keep repeating that same pattern again and again and again. So that a similar situation arises, you go into that similar constriction, that similar urgency, that similar doubt, and again you have to take yourself for a walk, to an ice bath, to a sauna, to go and make a cup of tea, who knows, whatever the thing is that you're doing to self-regulate, to return yourself to clarity, and therefore get insight into how you're going to move forward. Now, it's not wrong, but what I'm pointing to is the fact that there is a deeper solution, which takes away the trigger in the first place. So that you don't have to do the self-regulation process. You don't have to go and breathe 5 times in the corridor and then come back to the conversation. You don't have to go and get present with your feelings and then come back to the conversation or the situation. You get to just keep living your experience of life. Because what this work does, and why I said to my client, oh no, we don't do understanding around here, which actually is not true. The thing which is true, hi everybody who's joining live, thank you for jumping on. The thing which is true here is that we raise your level of consciousness first, then you get all the understanding you need. So often it's talked about as like this elevator of consciousness. So if you imagine that while you're in your problem, you're down here at level 0 or potentially -5, depending how significant the problem feels. You don't have clarity, you're right in the thick of it, you have that feeling of, as I said, urgency, constriction, doubt, whatever it is that feels horrible, it's keeping you at a very low level in the elevator. So all these self-regulation strategies are essentially temporarily raising you up in the elevator. They're temporarily bringing you to a higher state of consciousness, because as you do the breath work, as you do the coaching, as you do the walk outside, you let go of those horrible feelings and you naturally rise, because that's your natural state, is to be that higher level of consciousness. So you raise up in the elevator by going for your walk or whatever, and then you see the problem differently. You've got a different perspective of that situation. Now you've got insight, now you've got that clarity, now you've got your understanding. In the process that I use, we don't have practices or habits like going for walks or breathing or anything like that, because what we do is delete the source that's keeping you at that low level, or that's circling you back to that low level. Because that's why you keep having to use these practices and habits. So when we delete whatever it is that keeps sucking you back to that level 0 or that -5 in the elevator, we delete that, then you naturally rise. You obviously naturally have that fresh perspective of that situation, but you don't go back there again. We are intelligent beings. once you see for yourself in the process what was creating you being at level 0 or -5, you never create that again. You never make that same mistake again, which means that reaction is gone, you have risen, and you stay risen. You don't have to keep doing a practice or habit to keep rising. So from this higher level of consciousness, you then understand your problem because you can see it all so much clearly from here. And from here, the trajectory is upwards. You will never go back to that same mistake again. Never go back to that same level of consciousness with that particular trigger again. When that trigger is gone, the trigger is gone, period. That's why we don't have integration processes. That's why we don't have any ongoing habits or practices, because delete the trigger is gone, consciousness rises, you get all the understanding you need after you've risen, not prior to, because talking about it from here, you'll still look just seeing the problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. And we all know that wonderful quote from Einstein. I can't remember it right now, but something about you cannot solve the problem from that same level of consciousness that created it. So when we delete the trigger that's keeping you anchored low in those low levels that feel rubbish, you naturally rise because that's your natural state, and you never ever create that same trigger again. So next time something similar happens, you don't have to step away and go and take some breaths. You don't have to go for a walk. You don't have to sit and be present with emotions, because the trigger is gone. What is there to do? There's nothing to resolve. There's nothing to regulate. There's nothing to recalibrate, because the trigger is gone, gone, gone. Like, there's literally nothing to do. You stay present, you stay grounded, you stay in whatever it is you're doing. Because why wouldn't you? When you're making a cup of tea, making your dinner, you don't self-regulate, you don't go off and do some breath work, you just keep making your dinner. You just keep making your cup of tea. And it starts to be the same with everything in your life. The more triggers you delete, the more your consciousness raises, the greater understanding you have of the whole, and the less time you have to take yourself out of the equation while you go and do some breath work or get present with your emotions. You get to just keep being present with life. That's what feels fulfilling. That's what feels satisfying. That's what feels enlivening. As I say, the more you delete, the higher you rise, the better it gets. Oh, thank you for the love hearts. Really appreciate it. Glad that's landing for you. So yeah, drop in the comments. What's coming up for you with this? What's this resonating in you? Where's this landing? Where are you seeing that actually you're spending a lot of time trying to understand from the level of the problem? Or you're spending a lot of time having to temporarily alleviate yourself onto the higher levels, but then, that trigger comes back again. So you have to go and do a walk again, and that trigger comes back again. And you go and do some breath work again, and oh my God, that trigger comes back again. Where are you seeing you can save yourself a hell of a lot of time, energy, and effort, and attention, your valuable, beautiful attention? Delete the effing trigger. You just rise. You'll never create that same mistake again. I hope this has been valuable for you. Thank you so much to everybody who's here live. Thank you for the love, and I look forward to catching you again soon.